Let me ask you something. When was the last time you really thought big? Now, I'm not talking about your to do list. I'm not talking about getting through the day or even paying the bills. What I'm talking about is big picture living, legacy, purpose, destiny type thoughts. Because right now, most people, they're shrinking their energy, shrinking their vision, shrinking their lives down to a list of chores and a paycheck. And here's the hard truth. You were made for more. But if all you do is think small, you'll live small, period. Welcome back to Hard Truths, the show that breaks through the noise, challenges the way you think, and calls out the patterns keeping you stuck. But I'm also here to remind you that you're not as far behind as you think. You're already done hard things. You're already grown more than you give yourself credit for. You just need to keep going, and maybe think a little bigger while you're at it. See, your mind will always manifest what it sets on. If all you focus on is laundry, the dirty dishes, the 9 to 5 grind, or the school pickup line, guess what? That becomes your world. That becomes your reality. And sure, those things do matter. They're part of life. But the problem isn't doing them. The problem is when they consume all of you. Here's the thing. When you give your entire mind over to the task of keeping up, think paying the bills, making the house look right, checking boxes, you lose the part of yourself that dreams, builds, and creates. You're not doing anything wrong by keeping the house clean or showing up to work. But if you've been feeling tired, stuck, uninspired, you might just be due for a mental zoom out. So let's dig deeper into what's happening in your head. One of the most fascinating things about the brain is how easily it defaults into routine and reactivity. That's thanks to something called the default mode network, a set of brain regions that activate when your mind is wandering or on autopilot. See, your mind, it loves comfort, it loves repetition, and it thrives on what's familiar. But here's the catch though. This network doesn't know the difference between high impact and low impact activities unless you interrupt it with intention. So if your brain gets used to handling only small scale tasks, think folding laundry, replying to emails, checking social, it starts treating those tasks as your entire existence. You literally rewire yourself to obsess over maintenance instead of growth. Psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who coined the concept of flow, said that humans are happiest when they're fully immersed in meaningful challenges, not busy work. See, flow is the powerful, almost euphoric state where time just disappears and all your mental energy is focused on one deeply engaging task. It's not just about getting things done, see? It's about getting absorbed in what you're doing in a way that feels almost effortless. Flow happens when there's a perfect balance between challenge and skill. Too easy, you're bored. And too hard, you're anxious. But just right, and you're lit up. The problem is your life is filled only with small, repetitive tasks. You rarely give your brain the conditions needed to enter flow. And that's tragic because flow doesn't just make life feel good. It builds competence, confidence, and real momentum. Another study from Harvard even found that mind wandering to future-oriented, purposeful thoughts improves creativity, motivation, and even long-term happiness. But that only happens if you make space for that kind of thinking. So the science is clear. Your brain is a pattern machine. It adapts to what you repeat. If you keep it focused on the small, it will forget how to handle the big. And if you never create space for challenge and immersion, you'll never tap into your flow. And that's why so many people feel like they're drowning in shallow water. Let me be clear for a second. Someone close to me, someone I respect deeply, is one of the most capable people I know. But sometimes I notice how easy it is to get caught up in the little things. Think the house being clean, the next task, the next responsibility, and those small moments start to feel massive. And when she's stuck in that loop, it's like the rest of the world fades. Now I get it, I've been there. But in those moments, I realize something. If your mind is constantly preoccupied with the smallest pieces of life, how can it hold space for something bigger? You weren't made to be just a task doer. You were made to be a builder, a creator, a force. And here's the thing. You've already done bigger things. You've already taken steps that require vision, courage, and faith. This isn't about starting from scratch. This is about remembering who you are and giving yourself permission to go do it again. There's a quote I once heard that hit me hard. Don't trade your calling for comfort. Man, that one stayed with me because most people aren't choosing failure. They're choosing comfort, familiarity, predictability. But your purpose isn't hiding in your laundry pile. It's hiding in the life you keep putting off. The one you haven't made time to think about. The one that scares you. The one that challenges you. You're not overwhelmed because life is hard. You're overwhelmed because your vision is too small. And the good news? You can change that today. Here's how you start shifting your life back into alignment. I use something I came up with called the Vision Plus Flow Reset. Once a week, just once, I step away from the noise. 60 minutes. No phone, no music, no distractions. I ask myself 2 questions. Number 1, what would my life look like if I stopped playing small? Number 2, what's the one thing I need to do this week that moves the needle forward? From there, I pick a task and schedule something I call a focus window. That's what I call a 60 to 90 minute block of time where I go all in on something meaningful. Think writing, creating, strategizing, thinking bigger. No social, no multitasking, no skipping out when it gets uncomfortable. See, the first 10 minutes always feels messy. My brain craves a distraction. But then, around the minute 20, I find myself in flow. And that's the point. You don't find focus. You train for it. You don't wait for clarity. You create it by committing to space. So here's your challenge this week. Take 1 hour. Step away from the noise. Dream bigger. Schedule one focus window this week on something that actually matters. Let your brain warm up. Sit in discomfort. Stay in the seat. And lastly, do it again next week. And then the week after that. Because when you build a habit of focus, clarity, and intention, your mind expands. Your confidence returns. And your life starts moving again. You were born for more than errands, chores, and surviving until the weekend. You've already overcome more than you realize just by being here. You fought battles no one sees, and you've shown up on days when it would have been easier to quit. You're breathing, you're alive, and you have Wi-Fi. which means you've got the ability to hear this right now. That alone makes you one of the lucky ones. And if no one's told you this in a while, I'm proud of you for how far you've come, for how much you've carried. But I also believe you're not done yet. Stop living on autopilot. Start leading your life. Tag me at DannyLivin, DANNYLYVIN. Let me know what tiny task you're done giving too much power to, and what big dreams you're finally going to chase. This is Hard Truths. Until next time, think bigger, live bolder, and demand more. Take care.